All right, thanks for joining us, everybody. So this episode, we're taking a step back to a time period before all of the crap that came in the 90s, and we're jumping back into what we consider the golden era of horror, at least for us, and we're jumping to the early 80s, and we're talking about 1982's Basket Case.
First of all, I gotta say, I so regret something right now. There's a couple, actually, I regret two things. As we've talked about how we try to get a beer that, relates to the film. And in this movie, there's a few scenes where the main character is drinking Budweiser. And because of, as we've mentioned a lot of times on this show, life gets in the way. I wasn't able to go out and grab Budweiser, so I had to go low octane and go with Bud Light. So that was my first regret so far, is that I don't have an official Budweiser with me right now to drink and talk about this film. Second, huge regret, and I must say huge and massive regret, is that I don't have a bag of popcorn with me.
Oh.
Because this movie is probably one of the top 5 of all time best beer and popcorn movies I could possibly think of.
I would agree with that 100%. This is one of those movies that, and if you're a regular listener of this show, then you kind of know the past several episodes. When you get a behind the scenes episode in there or a Shanon only episode in there, it's usually because stuff came up and we're not able to get together and record like we were planning. And so I had watched this once, and then we were talking about possibly recording after we kind of rescheduled the first time. And then I was like, I'm going to watch Basket Case again. And watched it again, and then I was tempted to even watch it again today, but I didn't. I didn't have time to, so...
The funny thing is I haven't seen this movie for damn near 20 years. We always talk about the mom and pop video stores, walking into the video store, seeing the box art for it, and never seeing it, but it was always a staple of your horror section in the old school video store days. It was Basket Case. Then they had a few sequels later on, but you've got that scene of that cover art of like the basket with the hand and the eyes kind of looking at you from within. Never saw it. And then back I want to say 97, 98, somewhere around there when I was first married, I went into this thing where I was basically renting all the movies I never saw when I was in high school or before. And finally I got to Basket Case, and I remember my brother-in-law at the time, we rented it and we watched it, and my gosh, that movie was it was one of those things where it sticks with you. It's there's no way you'll ever forget it. It's so campy, it's so classic early 80s horror. And the thing too I want to mention, this is extremely low budget, and I want to say too, the acting is absolutely horrendous and terrible. The performances are just god awful, but for whatever reason, it still works, and it's still enjoyable, and it's still something you can, all these years later, go and buy or rent or whatever and watch again and be entertained by it.
So I just want to say something here real quick. I just have to interject this because I think this is hilarious, because there are very rare instances on this show where there's a movie that wasn't necessarily part of our childhood that we cover that we disagree on. And me and Mark have known each other for 32 years now, I think, something like that.
Yeah, long time.
It's been a long time. And I would consider us very close friends over the years.
Absolutely.
There was a period of time there where we didn't talk very much, and we honestly don't talk as much as some people think we do now, but we do when we get together for these recording sessions that we do every couple of weeks. They end up being, it's actually kind of funny because my wife always jokes about it. When I head up the stairs, usually a half an hour or so before we're starting to get ready for stuff, and She usually says, "Oh, I'll see you in the morning." But anyway, I just want to. When I watch a movie at home, I don't take a notepad with me to the movie theater. I've actually thought about it a couple of times, but I don't do that. But like the professional horror critic that I am, I do sit down with a pad of paper and a pen and jot some stuff down. And here are a couple of the things that I have written down. Very low budget, very poor acting, although very enjoyable. And then below that, I have, this is exactly what I have written down. We've talked about Milwaukee's Best and Sam's Choice popcorn type of beer and popcorn movies. This movie is the definition of that.
That is so funny. Yeah, this isn't one that, we grew up on together. Like, we never watched this back in. Did you see this as a kid?
I didn't see it as a kid. I think, just like you, I think this was one of those ones that I had picked up in probably my 20s or, late teens, and, one of the ones going through the video store horror section and like, oh yeah, that movie, it was one of those. And it's the same exact thing as what you had said. It was one of those where while I wouldn't say it was ever a favorite of mine back then, because it's probably been years and years since I've seen it, but I don't know what it was. But yeah, this most recent viewing of it, it's one of those movies that it's just, you love it. And I don't know why, because it is a horrible movie. I mean, it is. The story is horrible. The acting is horrible.
All across the board, too. There's no good acting in this film.
No, not at all. And and honestly, too, I think if you showed this movie to somebody who wasn't a horror fan, that, I don't know. And again, it's weird that I'm saying this, but I don't know why I like the movie. I don't know what it is about it. And if I were to show it to somebody else, I don't know what quality of the movie I would be like, oh, come on, you got to appreciate it because of that. Because, there's like the one thing that does bug me about this movie is the sound effects in the movie. If you know what I mean, if that makes sense, like the screaming that the brother does. It just it's like nails on a chalkboard to me. It's like that was the only thing. I'm like, oh God, stop that noise. That's horrible.
Yeah, we should go into a little bit of the plot points. I mean, basically, this film is about this guy who he moves into this really seedy area of, I think it's New York, and he carries a basket with him everywhere he goes, and he rents this really crummy apartment with this sleazy landlord, and I think there's like a prostitute that lives down the hall from him, and what's going on basically is he carrying inside that basket is his twin brother who was born attached to him. But what happened, and we see this through flashback, is that the parents were really disturbed by this whole thing, so they had the deformed brother who was basically just like a head and then a couple arms and like some flesh, and they had him removed, and then they basically threw him out in the trash. But because the brothers had this kind of telepathic communication, they were really close, and the other brother saves the other one, takes him out of the trash, and then they kind of run away together, and the deformed brother is basically murders out of revenge. They're going to all the doctors that were involved with the separation, and anytime the brother's jealous, there's he gets angry. It's a pretty typical story, I guess, if you look at it in terms of horror, but it's just so hokey and so cheesy. It's perfect. It's great.
The other movie that I kept thinking of watching this one now is Sleepaway Camp, which is another kind of along the same lines of this one, real campy, real,
sure.
In real bad quality, real bad act. I mean, just another example of just a horrible movie that is a great movie for no reason that you can even pinpoint. I don't know what it is, but even just talking about it makes me want to go watch Sleepaway Camp.
Right.
And the other one, too, that this one reminds me of is a movie that we've covered on here before, which was The Deadly Spawn.
Yeah, that's funny you say that. I didn't even think about that. But this one, Basket Case and The Deadly Spawn, you can put those two together for a double feature. And wow, yeah, you're right.
I would almost say you could put all three of those, that Basket Case, Sleepaway Camp, and Deadly Spawn. Yeah, I think you would start with Sleepaway Camp, then you would watch Basket Case, and then... Or no, you know what you do is you would watch Sleepaway Camp, watch Deadly Spawn, and then watch Basket Case. And it would almost be like you're watching a trilogy.
That is so funny. But you are so right about that, yeah. Gosh, I forgot about Deadly Spawn. Yeah, this would definitely go into the category of... I think it has a little bit more charm than Deadly Spawn. Like, Deadly Spawn was fun for what it was, but this one just takes it to a whole new level, I guess. I don't know what it is about this film. I almost want to purchase it, but I don't know if I can pull the trigger on it yet. I mean, the design of the brother, like the classic special effects and practical, Oh, and another thing too was the stop motion animation that they have in this film was so reminiscent of like you're watching like a Sesame Street episode or something.
Right.
It was so funny. I remember actually watching it with my brother-in-law 20 years ago, and that was happening, and it was like, wow, this is hysterical.
Yeah, see, and I don't know, because there's certain parts of it that they're like doing like puppet work, and then there's other parts to where it's, the stop motion stuff, and I almost wish they would have just went with one or the other rather than doing both of them together. If that makes...
Yeah.
Because it's kind of funny because there's a few scenes where it's a puppet, and then there's other... Like the one scene where he destroys the hotel room, it's all stop motion, and you're like...
That's a great scene. That's where you grab a handful of popcorn right there. Another thing, too, about this film, it's like really, really, really gory, but it's the kind of gory that like basically all you see is... When I say gory, it's just because there's a lot of blood in it. It's like back in the when they didn't really have a real good effects guy, and they couldn't really fully. And I guess this kind of changes it a little bit from Deadly Spawn, where Deadly Spawn was a little bit more progressive when it came to their special effects. This one was more basically just squirt red food coloring on everything you can possibly see, and it just makes it all the more gross. And like every death scene is just. Basically that you just get like, buckets and buckets of blood. But I do want to say one thing. I want to mention this, which I thought was one of those really awkward moments when I was watching this film. Was okay. So basically we kind of went through the gist of the characters and all that. So the brother, there's like the twin brother is like a deformed, kind of creepy creature that lives in a basket, basically. And then anyhow, towards the middle to the end of the film, the brother, like the one who had him detached from him, starts to kind of fall for this girl, and the basket brother, I guess to say, I forget his name. What was his name again? Belial or something like that. He gets really jealous, like if the more normal brother, with legs and stuff, gets romantic with anybody. Anyhow, so the guy starts to become attracted to this blonde in the film, and anyhow, so they have this like telepathic sort of connection where they can kind of see each other's dreams, and it, like this sort of connection there. Anyhow, the brother wakes up and he realizes that the basket brother is like missing, and so he goes and like through like kind of thinking to himself, like I think he can kind of see what his brother did through his like telepathy or whatever, and he goes to this girl's house, and the basket brother had killed her, but there's a scene like you walk in and like he walks in on her, and like the deformed creature brother is like on top of her, like kind of going, trying to like get, and she's naked. He's like kind of bumping on her, grinding on her. And I remember like the first time I saw that, like it was really awkward because I'm like watching that with my brother-in-law and my wife, and I'm like, what's going on here? And then I remember saying like, I think he's trying to like attach to her, like, just like his brother. And then my brother-in-law looked at me and he's like, no, I don't think that's what he's trying to do. And like, yeah, it's a really bizarre, awkward scene in the film. And because like he doesn't have any private areas or anything, at least that we could tell. But anyhow, it's that's probably one of those. I don't know. I'd say that'd probably be the scene that really sticks out the most in my head.
I mean, it goes just down to like bad acting and stuff. This guy goes into this doctor's office with this wicker basket, and it's like, oh, I want to see the doctor. And then the secretary's like, hey, baby, how's it going? Here's my number.
Right.
It's just, I mean, it's just so.
Oh, it's terrible.
Just horrible. But again, it's great.
It's horrible and great at the same time. This is one I think you and I need to, when we go to Flashback this year, I think we need to find this on Blu-ray and just purchase it. I know they're going to like charge us an arm and a leg, for it, but I think it's important that we just buy it anyway.
Or on VHS, if we could get it on VHS, that'd be cool. Although,
yeah, that'd be really cool.
Probably twice as much on VHS as it is on
Sure.
Blu-ray.
Oh, and that's just for the record, the first time I saw it was on VHS in the late 90s.
Yeah, so, it would have been for me too, yeah.
Which is kind of cool. So I did see the classic, film VHS version of it. So I know I think there's like some special editions, or there's, this movie's got a huge cult following. It's been repackaged and all kinds of stuff has been done with it over the years. So because of all the wackiness and stuff that we've been talking about.
Well, in this one too, which I don't know if this really has much to do with the low quality of the movie itself, but this is one of those movies that supposedly the director of the movie had no creative control of any post-production work on it at all. And supposedly that's part of the reason why it's came out to be so low budget looking, I guess, but I don't know why that would be. If I can't imagine that you don't blame that just on, the guy didn't have any creative control after the movie was done filming.
Well, yeah, because you got to think about it, like, because the way that whatever camera they use for this film, it's clearly like something of a lower quality than whatever they were doing in like, general films. I mean, you could just see graininess, and it's just like you could tell the quality was like, I don't know what, I don't know enough about film to say like, what they were using, but like it was clearly not like.
Well, it was the blurb I saw on it said it was shot on 16 millimeter film.
Okay.
So I guess standard back then was probably 32, I guess.
Well, that makes sense then. So yeah.
I guess that goes back to what we've always said before on when you're talking like about VHS tapes and stuff. When you get those ones like in the 90s and stuff that you pick up, and there's 50 feet of film in them compared to 500 feet of film.
Right.
That has something to do with it or not. I don't know how all of that works.
Yeah, you could tell it was like it was like there was not much of a budget involved in this film. It's kind of funny. It's like I wonder like how these movies end up getting made, and like how do they get released? I guess would be the bigger question. Like, it's like how did this film ever get past the drawing board here, and like where was it released? Was this in a theater? I can't picture like walking into a movie theater in 1982 and seeing this. I mean, you'd see that like the acting is so terrible that you would like think, wow, this is most people would just kind of walk out. But again, I was like, what, 5 years old at the time? So,
Well, this one always reminds me when you watch stuff like this back in the early 80s and, well, even some later films too. Once you got up to like in the 90s and stuff, and you had movies like The Blair Witch Project, and later on when you had like Paranormal Activity and stuff, these ultra low budget movies. Nowadays, there is this whole resurgence in, because equipment is so readily available. You can go to Walmart or Best Buy or whatever and buy a digital camera for next to nothing, or hell, if you, depending on the phone you have, if you have a good quality, name brand phone, whether it's an iPhone or a Samsung Galaxy or whatever, usually the camera that's on that thing is amazing. There's this resurgence now in, there's a bunch of these fan films that are being made, but then also there's, you have a bunch of people that are making these low budget horror movies, and I mean nowadays they're just putting them out there on their own. That's part of the beauty of being the time period that we live in. But yeah, it always reminds me of sort of like with this. And again, this one, like you were saying, this was in 1982, so the home video market hadn't really taken off at that point. So this must have been like, it must have just been one of those things like where people were just making these real crappy, low-budget horror movies, and then must have been getting shown like at grindhouse theaters and drive-ins that are playing B horror movies and stuff. And they probably just get played, for a couple of weeks before people get sick of it, and then, the next thing comes on, and then, like we've talked about before with all these other movies of that time period, Curtains and all these other ones that started getting shown on late night cable or whatever, getting picked up by, distributors, whoever, I don't know who the distributor of this one would have been back in the day, but whether it was like a media or, Wizard or whoever, and, throws it on a big box, and then, it's sitting in the corner and in the horror section at your local video store, and, it catches the eye of people like, oh, what is that? That looks kind of cool.
Right, absolutely.
So yeah, there's been a couple of those fan movies lately that I've been checking out, which is kind of cool. Did you watch the Friday the 13th one I told you about yet?
Not yet, I haven't.
Oh, you got to. I'm telling you, there's cameo at the end. Oh, it's so good.
Really? Oh, I gotta check that out.
But then, Never Hike Alone.
Okay,
Don't
I'll
Hike
check
Alone.
that out. Cool.
I missed out on they did an Indiegogo thing to get it released like on DVD and stuff, and I missed out on that, but I think it's still on YouTube. But then, like last year at Flashback, I bought that movie The Barn on VHS, which is another ultra low budget movie, and then the same people that put out that just released not too long ago an anthology horror movie called 1031, which I just got that in the mail on VHS the other day. I haven't watched it yet, but
you gotta let me know how that goes.
Looking forward to that one. But yeah, cool. It's, we talk about big budget stuff like It and stuff, and like, that's great. But then you also have like big budget horror movies like The Shape of Water, which gets all this like attention, but like real horror fans are like, ugh.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of bestiality.
I don't want to watch a horror movie that my wife and kids are like, hey, let's see this movie.
Right. Yeah, I'm going to have to go ahead and give this one a big, giant thumbs and baskets up, because this was like a really, really good horror film.
I'm going to do exactly the same thing. And when we cover movies like this really makes me say to myself, oh man, this is the kind of stuff we should do every episode on the show.
I think we should. I think we should toss something in like this a little bit more often. Now, one thing I want to say that I think is pretty funny, the budget for this film is $35,000.
Yeah, I don't know if I believe that.
And that is pretty funny. So, yeah, I think you and I, we need to do a little digging and come up with something like along this line, and maybe do a few more of these type of basket case type beer and popcorn films, because really these are those horror movies that you don't have to think much. You just sit back, enjoy.